Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It's always great to have you on board, and it's always a pleasure and an absolute privilege to have you coming through and watching our live. And this week is no different. We always try our best to bring you the best of the best, experts in their various fields. And tonight we have a gentleman by the name of Simon Lewis in the building. Simon, how are you doing?
Well, man, Godwell, how are you doing?
No, I'm very well, thanks. How's things going your side?
Yeah, busy. Fortunately, it's nice to be busy, and very hot at the moment. But that also, we shouldn't complain about being hot in March. It's all lekker.
Yeah, I can imagine. And weird times we're going through. In a normal space, you and I would be sitting in the same room having a chat. Eh?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, I'm seeing at the moment there people are walking on. There's so many masks that have gone. It almost seems like COVID's over, but yeah, it doesn't seem like it. So we'll just have to hold thumbs.
100%. I can't agree with you more. And it's something that we try and push and say, please wear your masks. COVID is not over yet, but what more can you do?
Yeah. Yeah, we've lost one or two family members and heard a lot of people lost people. So just rather be on the safe side. It's a nasty thing, and just stay safe.
100%. I couldn't argue more. And Simon, I have to warn you, it's half an hour, but it feels like 5 minutes. It always happens like that. Don't ask me how, but suddenly the time's up. And we want to dive into so much. I have so many questions to ask you, and I'm sure there's so much that our viewers can learn from you tonight.
Happy to help.
So Simon, before we dive into your specialist field, obviously before I come and sit and have a conversation with anyone, I have to read up about them and find out one or two little things. So it is it's always interesting. It is always interesting. And tell you what, I see you have a bit of a sporting background. So can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, I was a very passionate cricketer. I played for Sax in the first 11 for 2 years, vice captain in the second year. I was with Alan Dawson all the way from sub-8 matric. Fantastic guy, a really good cricketer. Also Lawrence Blair, who played for Western Province. He was in our side in matric. And yeah, I really tried hard to try get in that field, but I didn't quite crack it. We did quite well as a side at Sax, and I did pretty well at SA University's week. I was at UCT, and I played in the Nedfin 11, which is a composite side of UCT and UPE second sides. And the first year I did okay. And the second year I was playing with Paddy Upton, and Paddy got 240 runs and I got 220 in the week, which is not too bad in long ago. Sort of almost averaging over 40. I could almost be a pro tier. And he got selected for SAB, or this SAUB side, and I just missed out. And for me, that was a real heartbreak because, I mean, Paddy was way above me, so he obviously way deserved it. But it would have been a bit of a boost for my career to get that acknowledgement, because I went back from that week, and then I basically got stuck in second 11 again for the rest of my career. And when you're always playing second 11, it's hard to just raise that level. So that was me. Then I moved more into sports publishing. I was editor of the Googie magazine, which was a match program at Newlands. And in that, there was a short set of short stories, which I wrote and eventually put into a book called One Hell of a Season. And interestingly, this book was at one point sold. People working for me as such were the current CEO of Remax, a cricketer called Jonathan Trott. I thought you may have heard of him. He sold this in Newlands, and another guy, Jacques Callis, he also sold this book. So if you bought this at Newlands in the 90s, you may well have bought it from one of them. I was also the first guy ever to interview Jacques Callis, his first professional interview. And yeah, I've worked in Cricket Action magazine. I had my own cricket magazine with a group of friends, Sports Illustrated. I started a small magazine called The Ball, which is still going digitally. I worked with Top Billing and recently edited SA Cricket. Now I'm just doing freelance work, social media and stuff like that. And yeah, it's really exciting.
Wow. I didn't find half of that stuff on the internet, but it's amazing. And I love how you're just throwing in there just a few names of cricketers that I've probably never heard of. So
never heard of them, but it's good to give people acknowledgement in case, just let them have their moment in the sun.
Yeah, but look, absolute superstars that you've named and people who've gone on and made it quite big. And you talk cricket, I always get in a bit of trouble for this because I get biased when I talk to someone from the cricketing field. What did you do? Did you bat? Did you bowl?
I believe I bowled, but I was told I didn't. I opened the bowling once or twice in first league cricket in a couple of matches I had, but I was more of a batter. I was sort of a Pujara type batter, let's put it that way. Quite slow and steady, really valued my wicket, almost never threw it away. Yeah, and the problem for me is that I'd score 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, but I valued my wicket so much I could almost never get to 100. There almost wasn't enough time, so I wouldn't get those hundreds that people would say you need to score 100 to be promoted. So that's the type of batter I was. Really valued my wicket, but yeah, I didn't dominate too much, but I played a decent level, so I enjoyed it. And I was a very good catcher. My nickname was Latch because I'd catch everything that came. I almost never dropped a catch. But that was a long time ago.
Let's not go there, Simon, because when you were vice captain of Sax, I wasn't born yet. So
I was a young vice captain.
I promised myself I wouldn't say that on air, but I couldn't resist.
Sure. What year were you born? That was 87 when I was in the trick.
Let's just say I wasn't born. And I wasn't even in the pipeline yet. So
you kids, yeah.
It's always interesting. So I almost feel like I should call you sir each time.
You can, that's or Opa, Grandpa.
Fantastic. And look, you've spoken about your journey, how you've gone through it quite quickly. And what you've said is what stands out for me is that you worked there in that SA Cricket magazine. That must have been quite a journey, and that's quite recent. You also spoke about top billing, and now you say you freelance. And I was wondering what do you do as a publisher? What does that entail?
Basically, you produce work that either gets put into print or these days more it's digital. So you just come together with the idea and the concept and you put a product out there. It's a lot easier these days with things being digital because we can decide tomorrow to make a magazine and you can actually have it up pretty quickly. So it's really the person who's sort of almost like the brain in a way of putting things together. But I'm sort of publisher and then editor as well, and even designer. These days you have to wear lots of hats. So I can basically put a whole magazine together myself. Obviously like to work with a team, but not always possible with funds and stuff. So yeah, that's what publishing is all about, and having a strong heart.
Yeah, and you say that. I think you are in a prime position to have this conversation with us, and I want to kick it right off. We want to go into the space of social media. And immediately, opportunity or threat, social media?
It's the greatest opportunity in human history, I think. I think there's never been, if when I was 20, the world was as it is now, I think I would have just been like a rock star, as opposed to like a slow moving old man. I think it's just that there's so much, you have a chance to, with almost no cost. A few times I've published my own book, I've published my own magazine, and I've had to take money out of my own pocket that I've worked hard for to print something, because the only way to get in front of people is to have something in print. These days, tonight we can start a new YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter if you're brave, and if you can face the spears and arrows. And by tomorrow, we could, you could have hundreds of thousands of followers. That's not the normal pattern, but the point is, at no cost, you have access. If you have good information or good story, or good videos, you can actually reach right across the world in almost no time. So it's such an incredible opportunity. At the same time, you can also get into so much trouble. So it is dangerous. It's something I think everyone's got to use, no matter what your field of expertise. But for sports people specifically, it really is great. The danger is, it's like my brother-in-law drives a Lamborghini, and the way he drives it, it's dangerous. The way I would drive it, bear in mind I bat like Pujara, it's very, very safe. So it's how you use social media. That's what it all boils down to.
I love that analogy. And I don't know, I might just call you Pujara for the rest of the interview.
You may. I'll be honest.
And you say it's how you use it. And I think that's why we are here. This is the essence of this conversation. I am a sports person. How should I be using my social media?
Well, as a South African, for a start, speaking about South Africans, we're very scared about standing out or saying things or looking like we're clever, or we're very worried about what other people say about us. So everyone just does almost nothing. They do nothing on social media. Social media really is, you're going to be very careful of Twitter, because Twitter can kill you, especially if you engage a lot with it. People can be nasty, horrible, and you can lose a lot of time engaging with people. The best thing to do is almost let it be a diary of your life and experiences, because if you are sharing who you are, what you're doing, the things that you're experiencing, your thoughts on your innings, how you train, things like that, things about you more. Don't worry about other people and controversies. If you're sharing that with people, there's a chance that people are going to start liking you. They wouldn't know you otherwise, but now they can know you. Someone in Colombia can tomorrow be looking at a video about you doing some batting drills, or practicing or whatever, and you can start to get a following in places you never would have expected. That in my day, that wouldn't have happened. It's impossible. So that's why it's such a great thing that you've got to use. You've got to find a way to use. So it's really about a diary of your life and experiences, and just documenting what you do from day to day, and sharing yourself, and not trying to be someone else, sharing who you are, so that people can get to know you, because you don't want to try to be something that you aren't, because you can't sustain that. You can't keep being that super smart person, that super funny person, if that's not you. But you can keep on being you. So it's like Pujara. He could sit and talk very quietly and very slowly. He will gain his following of people who like him. If someone else is a madcap, David Warner or someone like that, he will get his own followers. So be your own self, and you'll get your own followers. And whatever level you get, that's just what you've got. So that's really the main sort of thing. To take the followers like on a journey of your life. That's welcome them into your life, and keep them at a distance as well, though. Be careful, engage where you can, but be very careful about engaging too much, because that can get you in trouble, and you want to avoid trouble, because social media can bring big trouble if you get it wrong. Like a gun. A gun's pretty safe unless you use it badly.
Yeah, 100%. And you say that, and I was about to ask you something else, but you jumped right into another aspect of engagement. What level of engagement? And I know it's different for everyone, different strokes for different folks. Yeah. But what would you advise? What posts should I be engaging with from a professional athlete? Which ones should I be walking past?
Anything that's controversial, anything that deals with gender, racism, even politics. I'd be careful of politics. Anything that's too critical of a person, I think it's fine to say, oh, I think this batter's not doing well, they did badly, but you don't want to get involved in anything that's hectic or very personal. Just imagine it's your diary, and you're just sharing yourself. And occasionally, when someone asks you something, answer the question. Just avoid anything that seems controversial, confrontational. If you're the type of person who likes that and thrives in that, and you're like a Donald Trump and you can take it and go with it, then that's up to you. Go with it. But for most people, keep it nice and soft and sweet. Be happy to engage and discuss. I was bad here, I was good there, or this was a problem. But just avoid the controversial things, because you've seen so many people whose lives have been turned upside down by something that they said that they probably didn't mean to say, or they just said flippantly. This thing that they maybe say to their friends the whole time, and suddenly, oh yeah, now the whole world hates me. You also have to be very, very careful, and this is why, in a way, especially if you have aspirations to be very big or to grow, you've got to be careful when you're on Twitter specifically. You click like, you click share, you click like and share. Now I can go into your Twitter, and I can go and see everything for the last 19 years since you were born. I can see every single thing that you've liked or shared or whatever. And then in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, when you're famous, or when you want to run for president, people can go through and say, hey, you clicked on something that, said something about gender or race or Donald Trump, and then it can come back and bite you. So I'd be very careful even about what you like and share, Because again, if you are that brand, that stuff it's almost irrelevant. Share yourself. Don't mess around in other people's waters. It's nice to do, and social media should be about that, because it's about letting everyone know what we all think about each other. But if you're a brand, I'd be very careful about sharing, about liking or sharing stuff, just because, you know, it can get you in trouble down the line, which you wouldn't anticipate.
Yeah, and that's the question I was about to jump into is, Simon, what are common mistakes that people make on social media? And you've just tackled the one where you've spoken about what you are liking or retweeting on Twitter. But are there any that come to mind to you?
A big thing for what I think people get wrong is you'll see they just don't post enough. I mean, if I was a store, or if I was a decent cricketer, I'd be posting 3 or 4 things a day. I'd be posting a picture of my boots. I'd be posting a picture of my kit bag. I'd be posting a picture of a friends at Nets every day. To take a picture or short video of something that happens at Nets. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering. Just keep showing people different things. But then a big thing that people do is when it comes to sponsorship. Now, sponsorship obviously is great to share your sponsors, thank them through social media. But what people do is they'll take my book, for instance. They'll say, thanks guys for publishing my book, or thanks for buying my book, and it'll be there. What you should be doing is rather just holding the book or talking about the book, letting it be there, but not an ad. So if you're sponsored by Springbok Rugby, don't stand there and say, thanks Springbok Rugby, you guys are great. Have the ball, be playing with it. People will see the ball. They'll want to know the ball, because you're not making it a sales focus. It's part of you. You know, if you're taking a video every single day of your bat, you can be chatting to the guys holding the bat like this, holding the bat like that. The logo can be hidden, can be half hidden. It doesn't have to be, there's the logo. So don't be too overt, but give your sponsors, you know, if you're showing the bat, your bat, you know, if you're sponsored by a bat manufacturer, have 2 pictures of a bat every day. Some of them might be a picture like that, or a picture, you know, unusual different angles. Maybe a picture of was the splice in my day? Yeah. Not sure. I know the splice was there. I'm losing it, I'm sure. But, you know, show the bat a lot, but show it in ways that aren't an advert. Let it be part of who you are. But by people seeing it again and again and again, your sponsor will get really good and effective stuff, sort of exposure. Stuff that you should be posting, you know, just a short video saying, this is how I'm feeling. This is how I felt about the match. After a match, wow, you know, it was really irritating. I got off a duck. I just shouldn't have played outside the off stump. Or I've been practicing all week not to do that, and I did it again. Or, you know, wow, I got lucky early on. A couple I was dropped, but then I found I did this, and, you know, I scored 100. Just share little memories, little thoughts. You know, I had a net today and just wasn't going well, but my coach said I should try this, and I did that, and it worked. Or have a little, you know, short little interview with a teammate, just like asking them a question, just like anything. Taking pictures of your kit, taking pictures of your teammates at practice. Just share your vision of where you are in your life. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering, but just keep documenting it. It's almost like it's your personal diary, and you're opening people up to your diary. What are you seeing? Where are you going? You know, what's happened? Share those things. Let people see them. And, you know, social media is free, so no one's paying to see your social media. So they can't complain and say, oh, I want my money back. You're just saying, this is my life, this is my world. And in doing that, the big thing is in showing these different things, you'll start to see what people like and don't like. And then you can start doing more of that. But no one knows. You get 2 cricketers exactly the same, and they can both do the same thing, and what fans will like something about the one person and saying about the other. So we just don't know. You got to try and do as much as you can, post as much as you can, post 5-10 things a day at least. And some of them can be just a comment on someone's Twitter if you're brave, or a comment on someone's Instagram. Twitter if you're very brave. Twitter is quite scary. But, you know, just little pictures of your world, of the journey you go through, of you and your friends or other teammates and stuff like that. So it's really like almost like your own little scrapbook that you're opening to the world. It's a scrapbook diary. Share your thoughts, share if you thought, if you had an opinion on India being bought out for 36, say what your opinion is, or just your thought, or share about the world, share about your world and the cricket world that's happening.
Yeah, I'm sitting here taking notes, Simon, and I'm no expert, but you are right about it. You have to be brave, and there are these certain animals called keyboard warriors that you have to be very, very wary of. But in saying that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Simon Lewis here, a publisher, a guy who's had extensive experience in the brand and print media world, and he's here talking to us about social media. So at this point in time, feel free to pop in a few questions in the chat, and I'm sure Simon, with his big box and tons of experience, can give us a few answers and a few tips. And Simon, while everyone else types in what they have to say, you've spoken about sharing. Yeah, share, which is great. Yeah. The next thing for me is, okay, so there is sharing and there's oversharing, and not just oversharing. What should I be thinking about in terms of my privacy settings?
The privacy selections.
Privacy settings.
That's a difficult thing. A lot of people have themselves totally private, or they only let certain people in. It depends. If you want to become a brand, if you want to open yourself up to a lot of people following you, either because you want to become big and get sponsorship, or just because you feel that you have a message, or just that you could inspire other people, you really need to sort of open up just as much as possible. You may want to not have comments. If you can cut out on the different platforms, cut comments out, because sometimes that just gets messy and nasty. But really, I'd say if you want to grow a brand, you almost need to let it be as open as possible. I'd also say when it comes to Twitter, I would never block anyone. Mute some people, definitely, but don't block them. Because blocking, for a start, what happens is the moment someone gets blocked, then they take a screenshot and they say, oh, this guy's blocked me, this woman's blocked me, blah, 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 blah. And it becomes a negative thing. But also, what I think is very good, Twitter's fantastic because it keeps us humble. The other platforms as well, but Twitter's really good because you can make a comment, and anytime you make a comment, there'll be someone that agrees with you and someone that disagrees. So it reminds you, as a writer or just any fan, it reminds you that just what I think isn't automatically right. I'm not necessarily brilliant about everything, but it's like, oh, other people have opinions. It also makes you then rethink your opinions. And it can keep you humble as a sports person, just to remember that not everyone thinks that you're fantastic, and just to keep yourself balanced so that you fight hard. The very negative people, you need to just avoid them as much as possible. I wouldn't block them, I'd just mute them so that they're not actually on your feed in any way, and then they don't have the satisfaction that you blocked them.
That social media is something that we're all using. So these are certainly it's not just for professional athletes, as we mentioned, but for anyone per se who will use social media, which we all are. Well, majority of us are using it some way, somehow. Because social media is not just Twitter or Facebook. It spans long and wide, even into the world of YouTube. So definitely 100%. I'm just looking here at some of the comments. I look at various platforms. But what I'm seeing here is, should I be using my real name on my social media in case I don't want my parents or employers to see what I'm posting?
Well, that all boils down to, one of the things I hate about social media is that I've got my full name out there. It sort of started when I was at SA Cricket magazine, but there's nothing worse than you putting your thoughts out there and you sharing and you putting your beliefs, and then some oak comes with some stupid name and a picture of like a rabbit or like something, and it's basically totally anonymous. And so this person could be a man or woman, a child, an old person like me, they're then engaging you or criticizing you, but you've got no sort of, not really a comeback, but they're hiding themselves. So when you do that, I just think it's cowardly, and it's pointless because you don't know who you're engaging with. Is it a man, a woman, young, old? The main thing I think is that if you're going to be controversial and if you want to go on there and do silly things or make controversial comments, which is also fine because it's a way of practicing communicating. There's nothing wrong with being anonymous. if you're going to be doing that stuff, then do it anonymously. I'd say rather don't. But if you're going to do it anonymously, don't in your own private name, as I said, step on any controversial toes. Don't show pictures of yourself at, at the poolside, sort of with a toga party, or going crazy, because that stuff will stay forever and ever. And you may lose a future wife or husband. The in-laws might find you online and say, no, this boy, this girl, you're not going with them. They're bad news. And employers as well. It can really damage you. And again, the other thing is that there was an American politician where I think he wore blackface, I think like in 1965 or something, which in America in those days, I think everyone was doing that. And it comes out now as he's about to get elected for something, and I think he got kicked out. He wasn't allowed to be elected. So you're gonna be very careful what you think is funny now, or topical, or whatever. There's a lot of things about transgender where a lot of people are making fun of that, and that's their right to make fun of it. But 20 years ago, homosexuality was like no. Now, everyone knows, I think, homosexual couples, and it's become a lot more mainstream and accepted. In 20 years' time, transgender might become, I think it will become, the most natural and accepted thing. And if people look back and see, oh, look at these jokes you made, you can get in serious trouble. You could lose out on becoming president of the country, or you could lose your high-paying job. So you need to be very careful about that. So if you want to engage in those ways, go private, go fake name. But otherwise, just be very careful and just steer clear of anything that's controversial.
Keyboard warriors is all I'm seeing. It just keeps coming back to me. Keyboard warriors. And yeah, like you mentioned, it's your own personal brand, and you need to build it that way. There's another question here: is how much time is too much time on social media?
I've actually stepped away from Twitter a lot now, because you end up in endless streams trying to share your point of view, or sort of argue a point with people who often are keyboard warriors and you don't know who they are. So you can get lost in it. You really, it's easy to spend a couple of hours on it, but you should really just spend a short while, because you've got other things to do. If you're a cricketer, I learned so much from reading cricket books about how people play cricket and the attitude and things like that, or watch YouTube videos of cricketers, or motivational talks. It's good to have a little bit of time with social media. It really keeps you humble and grounded, and lets you know what other people are thinking. But there's no time limit. But I mean, if you're spending 3, 4, 5 hours a day on social media, not as part of your job, I think you're losing out on so much productivity. We were talking about productivity earlier before we went live. You're missing out on so much chance to do things yourself that's going to grow yourself. One of the thing I say to my son is, and he does little Lego stop motion animation, but he gets caught up in watching other YouTube videos often, as we all do. And I keep on saying to him, when you're watching other things, you are a consumer. He's a little content producer. So are you going to be a consumer of other people's content, or are you going to put your stuff out there? And I think it's important to put your stuff out there. And the more time you're on social media, two things. One, the more time you take away from being a content producer, but also the more you're on there, the more you start to see what people say, and you start to get affected by it. And it isn't you. The best thing to actually do social media is to not actually see anyone's social media. Just put yourself out there and be honest and open, and let the chips fall where they may. Be yourself. Don't be caught up in what other people are saying and doing. I mustn't say this, mustn't say that. Just be yourself, honest and true, and spend as much time as you can putting stuff out there rather than just consuming. So probably to answer, maybe 2 hours a day is probably far too much on like a Twitter. But then again, sometimes you see a video and you watch the video, it's interesting. So it depends on how you're using it again, and what sort of stuff you're looking at. If you're just trolling through comments, 10 minutes a day is probably enough, because it's ultimately a waste of time, really.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you there, Simon. And like you said, different strokes for different folks. And there's some people who maybe it is their life. And the nice thing with social media is some people are actually making a career out of it. So it's absolutely fantastic. So do love that lots. I'm just looking, see, oh, we've got another comment that's just come in here where Caitlin says she loves the message about just going out there and just being yourself, which is 100% important. And I'm sure, going back to what you said earlier, finding that balance is important of still being yourself, but not putting anything out there that could be damaging in the future, like we saw I think we saw that with Miss South Africa. How what do you call them? I'm trying to see if there's a politically correct way of saying Black Twitter. They are always on it. Like, you do something wrong, and they're on top of anything that you do. But Simon, before I let you go, we've got a minute to go. What can you tell a young person who is new to social media?
I would say, look at the platform a little bit just to see what people are doing, then forget what people are doing and say to yourself, how me can I be me on this platform? What do I want to share? What can I share that's of value? What would actually just be fun to share? And share that of yourself. Don't worry too much about what other people are doing. There's so many people who come up with something totally new, and suddenly people love us, and it's a huge success on social media, but it breaks from the norm. So allow yourself to be almost a pioneer, to do something different, but let it be yourself, your expression coming out. Don't just follow the pack, because you might do something just different, and that could become the new trend. So that gives social media the greatest invention. It gives us a chance to actually do something amazing. Don't just be a sheep. A lot of people talk about sheep on social media, but don't just be a follower of everyone else. This is your chance to actually do something amazing and just have fun. So do that, and just avoid. Don't be a follower. Allow yourself to go out there and to be yourself, the best yourself you can.
Wow, Simon, thank you very much for that, and thank you very, very much for your time.
Cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. We had Simon Lewis in the building. You heard parting words. Don't be a follower. Don't listen to Simon on that. Go on Africa Sports Consultancy. Follow us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media platforms. But yeah, go out there, be yourselves. And, it is a space that you've got to be careful in, as Simon mentioned. So from our side, it's good night, it's goodbye. But as always, please, please, please remember, COVID is still a reality. Please put on your masks. Please keep sanitizing your hands, and look after your loved ones, more importantly, because not every day is promised. From my side, Simon, would you like to sign us out, please?
Just lucky to be part of this. It's such an important thing to do and be part of, and just have fun and be yourself. And do a lot. You almost can't do too much. Just go out and do it and have fun.
Cheers then. Ladies and gentlemen, take care. See you again next week.